1 week from this Sunday, the Beloit Sky Carp will be hosting a celebrity softball fundraiser. They're calling it the Border Brouhaha. Former Packers kicker Mason Crosby will not only be one of the celebrity players, he'll also host the event. I had a chance to visit with him on Zoom to discuss the event and to reflect on his career.
You spent 16 seasons with the Packers. You played in more games than any other Packer ever. What was it like to be a part of that franchise for so many years?
Yeah, it seems like such a long time ago. And I mean, not seems, it was a long time ago since I joined that team back in 2007 as a young kicker out of the University of Colorado, which now Colorado is relevant, which is fun. But going to Green Bay, it was the perfect spot for me. Coming to Wisconsin, I'm from a smaller town in Texas, grew up hunting, fishing, playing golf, being outside. And so to be able to come to Wisconsin and a lot of like-minded people that are just salt of the earth, such a strong, great fan base. And then I was fortunate enough to, start my career with Brett Favre as the quarterback. Then I had Aaron Rodgers, for the remainder of my career, and some amazing teammates like Jordy Nelson, and guys I came in with were like James Jones, and I could name a million of them. My punters, long snappers, Brett Good, Tim Mastay, who we won Super Bowl with. Just so fortunate to have awesome teammates, an awesome organization that I was able to play for 16 years. Whenever I say that now. It's kind of feels surreal and a little unreal whenever I was in it. It was just like, this is what I'm doing. It was kind of the norm. But now whenever I think back, it's such an awesome place to have such a long career. Couldn't have asked for a better organization to do that in. And again, fan base is top notch. And I'm kind of seeing some of that now as I'm retired even more, where it's just like being able to go out and be in different settings than whenever I was playing has been really fulfilling as well.
And of course, you were part of a Super Bowl championship team. I'm guessing maybe that was the high point of your career. But if there's another moment in your career with the Packers that really stands out, that was a wow moment that you just cherish, what would that moment be?
Yeah, yeah, there's quite a few. Winning a Super Bowl is the biggest one because that's the ultimate goal every year. All the other years where we made NFC championships, we didn't, get the job done. You can look at those years and say, yeah, there were successes in that, but without bringing that championship home, we always fell just a little short. But yeah, I look at games and moments and things like that. Had some big kicks. Like the division game in Dallas, for example. That for me, just going home to my home state of Texas. Always having. We always play pretty well in Dallas, and it still seems to hold true even since I haven't been there. Go to that AT&T Stadium and have success. So it's always good to go back home and do those things. But I also look at just kind of moments off the field as well. Just what the Packer community, the Wisconsin community meant to me. I was able to have a connection with Sartori Cheese for I think we were partnered for 15 years, where they donated $1,000 for every field goal I made to Make-A-Wish Wisconsin. So I couldn't imagine doing that somewhere else. Just somebody saying like, this organization's so important. We're going to attach our name to every field goal that you make, and we're going to give money to this organization. So to be able to just have those types of things is just a really special piece about being a Green Bay Packer.
And you're the Packers' all-time leading scorer. I'm just curious now, do you know how many points you scored as a Packer?
I mean, I think it's somewhere like 1841, something like that. So I don't know exact numbers. What is that?
1918, 1,918.
1918. Is that total like with like my extra games, or is that
I think that's regular
including that?
season games, but
Okay.
well, that might include the playoffs. I'll have to dig into that a little bit more. But I'm also curious too. Do you know who is number two? Who did you pass to become number one? You know who's number two on the list?
Unfortunately, and such a good friend of mine, and somebody that I just am so fortunate to know, Ryan Longwell. I
Yep.
mean, that guy, he paved the way. Obviously, I know there were some hurt feelings when he went over to those bad Vikings, but a guy that was always in my corner, always had nothing but great things and support to say to me, and about me, even in times of struggle. He was always just, an advocate for what I was doing there in Green Bay. So, yeah, I felt bad. I was at his Hall of Fame induction there in Green Bay. And so I'm sitting in the crowd there for him. Mark Tauscher was going in at the same time. And unfortunately, I had passed all of his, most of his accolades at that point from him being number one. So I'm sitting in the crowd, kind of shrinking down as they're like, second behind Mason, second behind Mason. I was like, dang it. But he still had one. He still had one on me. I think it was like most consecutive games with a field goal or something like that. So he still did have a record over me. So he can carry that one into the Hall of Fame. But yeah, what a great guy, and to be able to pass him and put my name in the record books for most points was such an epic moment whenever that happened.
So as I was looking up your stats, here's the stat that really jumped out to me. In your career, you had 28 tackles. Now, we don't think a kicker's making tackles, right? But I guess you played 17 years. You were going to make a few here and there, but obviously those were on long kick returns. But 28 tackles, 24 of them solo, that's pretty darn good. I mean, did you take a little pride in that part of your game?
Yeah, I did, especially early on. And, we were kicking from the 30 whenever I started my career. So there were more, a lot more returns, more opportunities, but I also was kind of young and dumb at the same time. So I would stick my nose in there and I'm like, hey, if I'm not kicking a touchback, if I'm called upon, I mean, I'm one of 11 out there and I need to make this stop. So probably my biggest tackle in like the early days was the opening kickoff of the Super Bowl. I tackled Antonio Brown on the sideline, so that was a good one. And then everyone likes to bring up, and it's probably the football highlight of my career, not the kicking highlight. Is whenever I had the strip tackle on Cordarrelle Patterson and caused the fumble. We had Micah Hyde recovered the ball, and we had a chance to go win that game or at least tie it, I think, and weren't able to get it done. But that was a moment for me that was pretty awesome. So I like to think as I got older and wiser in my career, I was more calculated when I stuck my head in there. But yeah, I mean, I always took pride on trying to be a football player, and I got advice on that whenever I was a young athlete coming out of high school. Matt Stover, actually, his wife was from my hometown, and they would spend off seasons there before his kids got into school age. And I remember going out and working with him. And honestly, the kicking stuff was great, kind of what he taught me. But the biggest thing was if you transition from being, because I played free safety, receiver, soccer, I played all the sports in high school. And he's like, once you like transition to just being a kicker, like don't stop being a football player. Like just be that guy. So, and then like the mental stuff and the mental side of things that he taught me were bigger and greater than any like technical kicking advice he had given me. And I always knew that. It's like I played sports my whole life. If I was called upon to make a tackle, I was going to do my best to make it happen. And it definitely started taking a toll on the body later on in the career, though. And I have some ailments, nothing like anyone that hits on the regular, but there's definitely ailments probably from some of those tackles that I had to make in my career.
Obviously, you can't make every kick attempt in the NFL, especially when you're playing in the weather conditions up at Lambeau Field. Here's what always amazes me about kickers, though, is that ability to, if you do miss one, you kickers are able to just blot that out, forget about it, and move forward.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of curious in other areas of your life where you maybe have made some sort of a mistake or something didn't quite go the way you had planned. Were you able, and are you able to carry that mentality in those other areas?
Yeah, I like to think, I have great parents, and they taught me at a young age to, not get too high or too low with moments. It's like, yeah, celebrate the great, and, feel the tough moments, but, try to keep perspective. So I always had a perspective that I got to play a game for a living. I got to do, what I love and go out on this field and try to, have success and, be the best version of myself performing on the field. But at the end of the day, I needed to be a good man, go out in the community, do good things, be a good husband, be a good father. And probably as specific for me is similar to kicking and letting things go and making mistakes is being a dad. So it's like I make a lot of mistakes being a dad, and
We all
your kids are going to do things you don't like, or you're going to say something, or put them in a position that is like might not be the right right move, and you just have to adjust and adapt and try not to make that same mistake the next time. So I think kicking helped me as a dad, and being a dad helped me as a kicker. So it all kind of ties together, and yeah, just I had an innate ability, and I do think it was fortunately with my upbringing as well, just to be able to just let go of things and have that perspective that I'm more than an NFL football player, I'm more than a kicker. That doesn't define who I'm going to be at the end of the day, and I need to be very confident in the man and the person I am, so I can go out there and cut it loose on the field.
playing in the NFL, I'm sure, is such an adrenaline rush every week when you got that big game. You're in a stadium packed with 70, 80,000 fans, whatever number. Was it hard for you to walk away from that after you retired? And was it hard for you to transition into a different life?
No, I like some solitude occasionally, and it's like it's nice to kind of retreat in. I did kind of, it took a year, just to kind of reflect and see if it was something, if I'm like, do I still want this? Do I still want to keep chasing after that? But for me, it was never about the applause and the accolades and all those things. It was just doing what I loved and being out there with my teammates and, and enjoying those moments and, chasing a dream. So for me, I don't necessarily miss that piece of it. I miss the locker room. It's like you miss those connecting points, having that structure of going in. I will say, like for like 6 months, I was just kind of, like enjoying not having like a set schedule. Like probably wasn't the best at the house sometimes. I'm just like, I don't know. Like I don't
Well,
really feel like,
retirement.
yeah, I don't feel like tying things down because for, 25 of my whole, life, I've just been in sports and been, tied to a regiment there. So, but I'm enjoying. I'm doing a lot now. I'm doing radio in Milwaukee. My wife and I have a wine podcast called Crosby's Crew that we just launched this last week. I have some sports ownership in some soccer clubs, and then I have 5 kids. So chasing them around and getting to enjoy that is a blessing in my life as well.
All right, let's talk softball because you got the big event coming up here with the Beloit Sky Carp in Beloit a week from Sunday. Are you a softball player? Where rates your game? And I picture you as a middle infielder. What's your natural position in softball?
Yeah, that'd be right. Whenever I playing baseball, yeah, I was a third baseman, shortstop. So yeah, I'll probably pitch some in this game, just because it is, it is my event. So I'll get out there and try to throw some nasty floaters to everybody that we're going up against. But I was always in baseball. I was probably not like the home run power guy. It's more of a just get in and play. Get some doubles. Maybe try to stretch to a triple every once in a while. But definitely in this softball game, I'm going to be swinging for the fences. We're going to be trying to hit some home runs and get it done. But I know some of my buddies and some of the people coming are some good bats and some good baseball players back in their day, and I've seen them play. Tim Mastay, Jordy Nelson. I don't know how, like, I've seen the roster. I'm like, how'd they get on the same team? Like, Tim was like he's like world everything in Kentucky baseball. Jordy, same in his own right. And, so those two are going to be tough to handle. So I might just have to walk them and then try to get everybody out.
I picture Jordy as a speed demon on the bases. He probably still has that great speed, I'm
Oh,
guessing.
he's still, yeah. I mean, I think he might be more shredded than he was when he was playing. I mean, the guy, all he does is farm and work out and coach sports down there in Kansas. So he
You
still looks like
stay
he could get it
have to
done.
stay pretty close. You reach out to each other a lot, you and Jordy?
Yeah, I see Jordy a lot. Whenever we can kind of fit it in with kids' schedules and things. But they came down here last summer to Tennessee and spent 2 weeks at our house, and kids went to camp together, and so we actually got to spend time, Molly and Emily and Jordy, and just had almost like an adult staycation while the kids were running off doing their thing. So it was awesome. We play golf. We've taken a couple golf trips. We're actually we're actually kind of chasing PGA and US Open venues and trying to knock a lot of those spots off our bucket list. We were able to do two last year. We played Oak Hill and Quail Hollow last year. So hitting a few good ones. I just got a connection to Winged Foot, so we're going to try to knock that one off here maybe in the fall. But yeah, Jordy's one of my all-time favorites, and a good friend for a long time.
Well, the neat thing about this softball game, not only is it going to be a lot of fun for the people who show up to watch it, but also it's going to benefit the Make-A-Wish Foundation
That's
of
right.
Wisconsin. And I know you and your wife Molly have been a part of that for over a decade, I think. What was it that inspired the two of you to throw your support behind Make-A-Wish?
Yeah, so it all started when I came to Green Bay. From the very first Friday where a Make-A-Wish family came to practice, and we got to hang out and have lunch with them, give them high fives, and encourage them through their time, and just to kind of the realization that that was their wish. Whether they had a an illness that they weren't going to recover from, or something that they were going through, that they wanted to come and be around us for a day. So like from that very first time I experienced that, I was like, I got to figure out a way to get more involved, with this organization. And then, like I said, I was fortunate enough to get a partnership with Sartori Cheese, where they were, donating $1,000 for every field goal I made. So yeah, sorry, I went to the Make-A-Wish gala almost every, year I was a Packer, getting to see and experience that. I joke that my daughter came with me to one, my soon-to-be 10-year-old, and she somehow got the paddle and was bidding on a bunch of things. So all for a good cause. I don't know everything I got that night, but we definitely helped raise a lot of money, and so it's been special for us. Again, we have 5 kids, and just to think that there's an organization out there that if we're ever going through something, that just needed that support in some way, that there's organizations like that'll step up and just come alongside your family to help you out. It's a really special cause.
Ex-Packers Jordy Nelson and Tim Mastey will also be participating in the Border Brouhaha, along with Olympic speed skating legend Bonnie Blair and other celebrities. The event is 1 week from this Sunday, July 27th, at Beloit's ABC Supply Stadium. Gates will open at 11 a.m. There will be a field goal challenge at noon. The celebrity softball game will start at 1 o'clock. Check out the Sky Carp's website for more information. Again, the event is a benefit for Make-A-Wish Foundation of Wisconsin.